Hey everybody, this is Jake from WebWatch, and today we are going to run down the biggest, most beautiful abandoned mansions in the world. So let's get right to it. Number 8, Swannanoa, Virginia. Swannanoa was built in 1912 by James H. Dooley and was built as a token of his love for his wife. The house was a summer home for the couple, while they normally resided in their other estate, Maymont, which still stands today in Richmond, Virginia. Dooley died just 12 years after its completion, and his wife died 2 years after that. Following their deaths, the ownership of the house was passed around between family of the couple, private corporations, and government officials before finally sitting in abandonment to this day. Every once in a while, there are private events held at this mansion, but other than that, this mansion is slowly decaying into history. Number 7. The Mansion of Tequendama Falls, Colombia. This stunning mansion was built in 1923 by architect Carlos Arturo as a symbol of the joy and elegance of the elite citizens of the 1920s. The mansion sits overlooking the falls. The mansion was abandoned in the early 1990s after decades of contamination from the local Bogota River. Number 6. La Manuela, Colombia. Everyone needs a vacation every once in a while, and drug kingpin Pablo Escobar was no exception. Covering 20 acres, La Manuela was Pablo Escobar's lavish getaway estate in the resort town of Guatapé. Escobar enjoyed this home until 1993, when it was bombed by Los Pepes. Los Pepes were a vigilante group known for fighting directly against Escobar and his reign of terror on everyday people. The house now sits abandoned. Escobar's ex-butler resides down the street where he owns a restaurant. He often allows people into the site upon request. Paintball games are also played here from time to time. Number 5. Carrollton Villa, Carrollton Island, New York. Carrollton Villa was built in 1894 by architect William Miller for millionaire William O. Wyckoff. Wyckoff made his fortune by helping the Remington Arms Company find a market for the typewriter. The massive house is located on Carrollton Island and was made to be a summer home for the family. However, just 1 month before moving in, Wyckoff's wife suffered a heart attack and died. Then, the day after the family moved in, Wyckoff himself also had a heart attack and died. His son acquired the house and his father's fortune, but much of the fortune was lost during the Great Depression. The home was sold to General Electric, who planned on demolishing the home and building a new plant with a vacation retreat. Just before demolition was set to begin, World War II broke out and GE abandoned the project. The house has sat abandoned and slowly falling apart since then. The house is currently for sale for just under $500,000, but renovations to the house are estimated at much, much more than that. Number 4. Linwood Hall, Pennsylvania. Linwood Hall is a massive 110-room estate built in 1900 for Peter A. B. Widener. Widener died in the home in 1915. The house was supposed to be inherited by his son, but both his son and his grandson had died 3 years prior on the famous ship the Titanic. Since then, few have been able to enter the house, and it has mostly been used for art exhibitions and some military training exercises during World War II. Now, the house sits abandoned, owned by the First Korean Church of New York. They do not use the extremely impressive mansion as any sort of religious site, but one of the members lives in the guest house. This man has become infamous in his ability to keep people out, even putting guard dogs in place while he isn't there. Because of this, extremely few pictures of the interior have emerged. These are some of the only recent pictures taken inside Linwood Hall. These were taken by Austin H. in 2013. Despite these photos, most of what remains inside this immaculate mansion remains a mystery. Number 3. Pithirsty Castle, Ukraine. The Pithirsty Castle was built in the 1600s in the Ukraine. The castle was used as a fortress and a home for most of its life before being captured by the Russians in World War I. The Russians did not destroy it, but they did loot the place of almost all of its precious items. During the early 1900s, ownership of the castle moved around to many different people, and Soviet authorities even opened a tuberculosis sanitarium inside the complex. In February of 1956, the castle almost burned down completely. The fire lasted 3 weeks and burned many of the remaining valuables inside. The mansion still sits abandoned to this day. Most of the interior is in a shell from the fire. There were plans to renovate the place, but those never came to fruition. Number 2. Chateau Miranda, also known as Chateau de Noisy, Belgium. This immaculate chateau was built in 1866. The structure was used as a home for a wealthy French family fleeing the French Revolution. They remained in this home until World War II, when it was occupied by German forces during the Battle of the Bulge. In the mid-1900s, the chateau was turned into an orphanage and a holiday camp for sickly children. In the early 90s, the chateau was abandoned due to the extremely high cost of maintenance. The building has slowly deteriorated, and some minor demolition began in October of 2016. However, the majority of the structure is still standing for now. Number 1. Chateau de la Mothe, France. This marvelous chateau sits in the middle of a small lake in France. It is unclear when this was built, but records of the chateau date back as early as the 13th century. In 1809, it was bought by a wealthy businessman by the name of François Hennequart. Hennequart tried his best to restore the castle to its former glory. Sadly, over 100 years later, a fire destroyed most of the buildings and precious items inside the castle. Since then, it has been left abandoned and is slowly being claimed by nature. Surprisingly, though, many parts of the chateau are still in decent condition and provide for a glimpse into what the lives of the wealthy were like hundreds of years ago. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the first episode of WebWatch. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. There will be many, many more videos like this one and some videos not quite like this one to come in the very near future. Again, I am Jake. This is WebWatch. Thanks for watching.